Welcome back. In this video, we're going to start adding more functionality to our game. So right now, we have this functionality that when we click on the mole, and when the mole is present here, so when the sort of mole popped up, then we actually register hits. We say hit is 1, hit 3, 4, etc. But if we refresh the game, if the mole is not here and we click, we're not registering any misses. We just don't register a hit. Well, we should start registering misses. And we're going to do that right now. But let's think about first how we actually register the hits, the 1, 2, 3 hits. Well, we have something called an if statement. We call it an if, else statement. And what we do is we say if a mole is visible, then increment or add to the number of hits, right? And we do that only if the mole is not visible. Oh, sorry, when the mole is visible. But we have to also now register a miss if someone clicks and the mole is not visible. In order to do that, we have to create, again, we have to expand this if statement to an if-else statement. But let me describe this. Let's see how we come to that thinking by analyzing how we kind of look at a very simple thing in the world. So let me bring here streetlights. Very simple, streetlights, everybody knows, even a child knows. Red means stop, green means go. Let's ignore the yellow for now, although we will come back to it. But it doesn't take much. We see red, we know it means stop. We see green, it means go. We don't think much about this, but we have to think about how we're actually figuring this out, so we can translate it to the way the computer thinks. Because computer thinks in a different way, in a way. So what is that? How we think about this? When you see a light, you ask yourself some question. You say, if light is red, then stop. Right? This is how we think. If the light is red, then stop. And then we say, if light is green, then go. Okay? And you could say, well, actually, the way I'm thinking is, if light is red, so that's like a condition, this is what I'm checking, then, and do an action. Okay? Or maybe I can do it even like this. Do this action, stop. If light is green, actually, if light is green, true. But we could even say, you know what? If light is red, actually no, let's just go with this for now. So if a light is green, then go. And as you can see, you'll probably start thinking, wait a minute, that is starting to look very much like this, right? I mean, look what we do. Let me just move this like this here. I mean, look what we're doing here. If mole is visible, so let's just say this says light is green, then do something. If I wanted to make lights, so let's just say I'm going to make it about lights. So I would say, if light equals green, or let's just say red, then stop. Doesn't this look very similar to that? So this is the way we're thinking. And if we're going to do about the green light, we say if light is green, then go. Well, you actually just written code without thinking about this. So if you're going to write code and you're trying to figure out how to solve some problem, you have to really think about how you're thinking about something as simple as that. And I would say even further that we kind of, let's ignore this yellow light for now, okay? Let's not worry about that. Let's just say the yellow light doesn't exist. You can say if light is red, then stop. But you can say also that I don't need this other check, because if it's not red, then I go. So you can say else, then go. So if light is red, I stop. Otherwise, or we can say maybe better, otherwise, I wish I could write, otherwise, I know it's ugly, hope you understand, otherwise, then go. In programming languages, this otherwise we call an else. So I can say if light is red, stop, else, and I don't have to have this check condition, else, then go. So let's take this and apply it to collecting collecting hits and collecting misses. So let's think about this. Let me just move things around so it's a bit more clear to read. By the way, just want to let you know that you can write the if statement like this and it's all perfectly fine because the semicolons tell us when things end. So this is actually a valid way of writing this, but it's very difficult to read. This is why we break things up to different lines. This is why we indent this. See, this line is not just like this, right? We indent it to make it more clear. Aha, this code is only run when this checks out, when this is true. Okay? Alrighty, so if mol is visible, if it's equal to true, then we score a hit. Then we say else. If there is no mol visible, then we say miss equals miss plus 1. Then we increase the miss. Okay? And of course, we're using a variable here, so we have to declare this variable here. And we say miss equals 0, semicolon. Let's remove that. Okay, so we have this. So now, if we're actually capturing the number of times a person missed, we can actually add it to our display, because right now display only has hits. But what about misses? Well, we could simply do this. So add more text, and this text I'll say misses, and make this a little larger so it's easier to see. Misses plus miss. Okay, again, this plus, because this is a string, like this is a piece of text, the browser is smart enough to say, aha, you're not trying to add two numbers together, you're trying to put together this piece of text with whatever is the value of this variable. So why don't we run this? I'm going to make things a little bit, remove some empty space. Let me save. Let me come here, refresh. Let me click start, and voila, look, there is no mol. I'm registering misses. Now there is mol, and I'm registering hits. Okay, so take a look at it. Now the hits are increasing, and if I try again, if I restart, now I should be getting misses. See, miss 2, 4, etc. So we just got our scoring to work. So what I'd like you to do right now is implement what we did. And again, I will screenshot this for you and highlight the parts that you must change. So what we need to do is you must declare this variable here. We have to add this else. Okay. And we have to add this code. So go ahead and do that and come back when you're finished. Okay, so now you got this working. I want to show you one thing. Remember how I said that I had to make this window bigger because I can't see this part that I was writing? Well, what do you do if it's actually, you cannot make the window bigger and you can't see this text? We can, of course, scroll like this, but that's kind of ugly. What you can do is actually put this on a new line. You can hit enter, and now this command, sometimes we call it a program line or a program command, now it spans two different lines. And you may think, well, this may not work because, you know, this will be run and then this will be run. And that's a good way of thinking about it. But in JavaScript, really, a line does not end until we put the semicolon. The semicolon is what ends the line. So if I have it like this and I save and I come back here and I refresh, as you can see, things are still working just fine. Okay, that's because this is actually one long command. It also means that if you miss this semicolon, or you put in the wrong places, things will go wrong. So let's just say I by mistake put a semicolon here. And it's very hard to miss, right? It's just one little character. I mean, it looks okay. But what you'll find is if we save this and we come here and refresh the browser, click start, well, things are not working great. I'm only getting this hit equals 0. And the reason why is because, well, actually, this line ended. And then this weird line gets executed. But let me see, actually. Let's see this actually creates an error. Let's make this full screen and F12. Again, F12. Okay, there are no errors, but this basically gets run and doesn't do anything. It doesn't actually change anything. It just gets run and just completes. So be advised, just something to pay attention to. I'm going to put this on the same line because it's okay. I like it better if it's on the same line anyway. And I can always zoom out and see, zoom out is done through here, and I can see things better. Okay, we got the scoring working, but it's a very silly game because once you start, after 5 seconds, the mole appears, and we can click all we want, and it's pretty easy to get high score. Oop, I just realized I haven't saved this. That's why this is doing the hits. Let me just refresh. Again, right? I'm scoring the misses. I'm missing. But the moment the mole arrives, I can keep hitting the mole. Well, that's not usually how the mole game works. Is the moment you whack the mole, it disappears, right? It goes back to the ground, back to its hole. So when this mole is clicked, we really should sort of make it disappear. And again, we don't have graphics yet, so we just make that word mole disappear. So how would we do that? Well, where is it that we register a hit? Well, it's right here. If the mole is visible, if the mole box is clicked and the mole is visible, then we increase the number of hits. Well, why don't we hide the mole? How do we hide the mole? Well, how do we show a mole? We show the mole in this function, show mole, and what we do is we find the mole box and then we set its inner text to mole. So what if we just set it to nothing? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. I can click right here to copy the entire line. Right click, copy. And I'm going to put this, paste it here. And I'm going to put this here and I'm going to say mole disappears. Let me save that. And let's see how it works. Actually, you know what? Let me also do is, let me make this a little bit faster. So let's just say the mole will be showing up after 2 seconds so that we don't have to wait 5 seconds every time. So let's refresh, start. I'm waiting for the mole. I missed. Okay, the mole is here. And now when I click on it, I should register a hit and then the mole should disappear. And it worked. I got 1 hit and the mole disappeared. Of course, I'm still clicking and I'm still getting hits. Why is that? Well, let's think about it. How do we know that a mole is in this box? We know this by checking this variable, is mole visible. So, okay, so we should, when we remove the mole, we probably should set this variable to a false, right? So why don't we go here and say is mole, it came up, so I just press tab, is mole visible equals false, semicolon, save, refresh, let's see. So start, so missed, oh, okay, let me try it again. So start, I recorded the miss, and now the mole is there. Now if I click on it, I should get hits 1. Yeah, that works. And if I hit again, it should be increasing my misses. So miss should go up and the hits should stay at 1. So, yep, that's how it works, okay? So we are now whacking the mole goes down, and we're properly doing the score. So I want you to go ahead and implement that. And I'm going to take again a screenshot. And I'm going to highlight the parts that you have to build or add. So you have to add this line, which was just a copy of this line, right? We copied this line here. And you have to add this line. And notice, very important, there's only one equals. Okay, 2 equals here means are these the same? 1 equals means put false into the variable is mole. I'm going to remove this. So go ahead and do that and come back when you're done. Now let's take a look, let's debug and see how it works. I mean, we got it working. It's very important too, very important to actually see how things work. So let's make this full screen. And again, I'm going to press F12. That's going to show me my developer tools. And here are, you know, all the files. So for example, here is our file with the script. And here is our if. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make one little fix to this. I'm going to put this else here like this. I like this better. It's more readable. And you should probably do the same thing as well. So let me just come back here. Let's refresh. And now we have the else here. Good. So let's see how it works. So see, again, I'm going this line and I move my mouse to the left of these line numbers and I click the red dot, and now it's red. That means that it will, when the program gets here and tries to run this line, it will stop. So let's refresh the page and let's start. Okay, so the mole is there. And now whenever I click on this box, this function will get called. So let's try that. Click, and yes, I am now on this line. And right now we're asking, is mole visible? So is mole visible, this variable, which we defined here, right? We defined this variable. Now again, variable is just a part of a memory, and we can put whatever on it. You think of a variable as a bucket, you know, or like a file folder. And you can put anything you want in it. So is mole visible variable has a value true. And if we ask, is true the same thing as true? Well, it is. So if I highlight this again, if I move my mouse over it, it's telling me true. And in fact, you can actually, if you look at this area, there's something called watch. You can actually expand this, click the plus, and put the name of your variable is mole visible. Oh, it came up there. And you can actually see the value of the different variables. So you can see it's true right now. Okay, so this means that we're going to hit this part of we're going to go and actually hit this part of the code. So I'm going to click this arrow, that means go next. And as you can see, we're now going to be increasing the number of hits. You know, that's interesting. This is a variable. It has a value of 0. So actually, let's add a variable watch. And we say hits, enter. And it's telling you, okay, currently, the variable hits has a value of 0. And if I step over this, if I complete this line and go to the next line using this button right here again, as you can see, that hits is now 1. Because again, we took 0 plus 1 was 1, and then we put it back into the variable. Then we're going to remove the text mol, so here. And now we're going to set the variable to false. And you can see this will say false. And so it does. And now we're going to update the score. So I'm going to run this. This means just run. Go ahead. Don't. This icon here means go to next line. That play button icon meant run. So we've registered a hit and 0 misses. Now what if I click here again? And let's see what happens. So I click here again and again, because we put a breakpoint here, the processing of the code stopped. So now we're on if. And it's asking, does the variable isMol visible hold a value equals to true? And you can use your mouse, it says false. Okay, you can also see it here. Is mol visible false? So then false is not equal to true. So if I highlight this carefully, it's going to tell me false. Okay, so if I go next line, so go ahead computer, go to next line. As you can see, it's going to the else. It completely skipped this stuff because it's not supposed to. So now it's going to register a miss. Okay, maybe let's add a variable. Let's go here and say miss. Okay, and now the value is 0. If we go to next line, the value will be 1. And we play, and of course we correctly have hits 1, misses 1. So I want you to take your time right now and again go through this. And again, I'll show you very quickly. Refresh F12, then click on sources, then click on WAM HTML, and then set a breakpoint here, okay, and then run your game. And again, sometimes the breakpoints here, you can expand this to add those variables here. So go ahead and do that and come back when you're ready. Okay, so let's close the developer tools. Let me make this smaller, and let's go back to our coding. So what is next? Well, I mean, the mol comes up in exactly 2 seconds after the game is started. How do we know that? It's because we show the mol when 2 seconds passes. So when the start is clicked, we basically set a timer, and we say timer in 2 seconds, call a function show mol. So in 2 seconds, this show mol gets called and the mol appears. Well, it's not difficult to hit a mol if you know exactly when it's going to appear. So maybe we should make this random. Maybe it shouldn't be exactly 2 seconds. Maybe it should be like maybe half a second, maybe in a second and a half, something random. So how can we do that? Well, let's go back to our trusty W3 School. Okay, W3 School. It's a good resource. And let's ask a question. And we say, how about say generate random number in JavaScript? What's going to come up? JavaScript math random method. Now I know that's right, but you're looking at it and say, that could be right. So let me click here. And what does it say? It says, well, examples, math.random. And we can try it yourself. So I can click this, and I actually have code here look at that. It does something very similar. Look at this. They call a document. They say, get me element by ID, demo. The ID, the element is right here. It has the ID demo. And they set the inner text to some kind of a random number. And it appears here. Okay, so if I run this, as you can see, the random number changes. Well, because it's a random number. But it's, it's not a very cool number. I mean, it's 0.284. That doesn't seem like a number we want. We want something like, 1 second, 3 seconds, maybe 300 milliseconds, etc. So what can we do? Well, let's go back to trusty here. It says, return a number between 0 and 10. Now, how do they do that? Again, now you have to get your mathematical thinking hat on. This is, again, why math is so important for programming, because you have to figure things out. Well, if I have a random number that's basically 0.6, well, what if I want a number between 0 and 10? So now let's maybe get a whiteboard here. Let's move this here. Well, how do we do that? Well, if we have a number 0.1, and if we multiply that by, say, 7, what will it give us? Well, it would be 7.1. Okay? And sorry about that. Of course, it's not 7.1. What am I thinking? Taking multiplying by 10. Okay? This would be 0.7. But what if it was, 0.9 times 7? Who remembers what 7? In fact, you know what? Let's not guess. Let's bring a calculator. .9 times 7. Well, now it's 6.3. So just a clue, okay? Don't worry, we're not going to try to figure this out on our own, but by multiplying this number between 0 and 1 by some number, we're actually going to get higher numbers. So if we in fact look at, let me just move this away, where did our trusty if we look at this, here to tell you, return a random number between 0 and 10, and all we have to do is multiply it by 10. So let's try that. Okay, here it is. Let x equals random number times 10. Let's run it. And as you can see, we're getting different numbers, 0.08, 9.6, 5.2, etc. If you kind of run this yourself, then you will see that you actually get numbers between 0 and 9. Now you ask yourself, well, but this said between 0 and 10. Well, actually, this you could get a 10 if the return is 1. So actually, it is between 0 and 10. So you do actually get those values. So please go to W3 School, type in generate random number. I don't think you even have to say JavaScript random number. Oh, there it is. Some other page here. Let's say generate random number in JavaScript. And you get to this page. And experiment with this with yourself. Maybe the one that's between math and 100. Click try it and run it. Just play with it a little bit. It's good to have experience with this. And come back when you're done. So, okay, so we know how to get random numbers. So let's just copy this text right here between 100. Right-click copy. And let's bring this to our code. So what do we want to do? We want to come up with some kind of random number. We don't want always 2 seconds. So what can we do? We can say copy. See, it says let x. Actually, I'm gonna explain it once at some point in time, but for now we'll just say var. Okay, it creates a variable. So let's create a variable x. Maybe let's call it let's leave it as x. And we want a random number, and by multiplying by 100, then we're going to get a random number between 0 and 100. That's a little bit too fast. 100 milliseconds is extremely quickly. So why don't we say by times 2000? What's going to happen is then we're going to get numbers between 0 and 2000. And we take the x here, and we're going to put it here. Okay, so that means that we're going to show them all at in some random time. So let's save this, come back, refresh, and let's take a look. Start. Ah, it showed up right away. Oh, it was longer. Okay, let's see. 1, 1000, 2. Okay, so good. 1,000, 2, 1,000, okay. 1,000, 2, 1,000, okay. So it is, as you can see, it is random. 1,000, okay, definitely much quicker. But this is not the best because we're not showing it here, but it could show up in 0 milliseconds. So it should show up right away. So how could we make sure that there is some kind of minimum amount? If this will give you between 0 and 2,000, well, how to make sure that it's never 0? You know, what if we add a number to it? What if we said plus 500? Think about it. If this is ever 0, then we're going to add 500, which means the smallest thing could possibly be, the smallest the random number would be 500. And the highest would be 2,000 plus 500, which means 2,500 milliseconds. If we want the maximum to be 2,000 as before, why don't we say 1,500? That way, minimum 500, maximum 1,500 plus 500, which is 2,000. Now again, you have to, as you can see, this is a different way of thinking about things. We normally don't think about it when you want to try to come up with a minimum, but this is how you have to do it when you're doing computers. So let's save that and let's refresh and start. And now we're guaranteed that it's going to be at the least half a second. 500 milliseconds is half of 1,000 milliseconds, and 1,000 milliseconds is equal to 1 second. So go ahead and implement that now. So I will not take a screenshot because I'll just highlight. Please add these. Actually, no, I'm going to take a screenshot because it will be clearer. So we'll go like this. What you need to do is you need to add this line right here. I need to change the x here. This was 2,000. I have to change it. You have to change it to x. So do that, and please come back when you're finished. Okay, what would be next? Actually, before we go to next, one thing you might be wondering is that this does not necessarily give you 2,000 or 1,000. It gives you like a number with a lot of digits at the end. So if we look at it, for example, here, if I run this, so let's just say we do it exactly the way we have it. We say times 1,500 plus 500, and let's run this. As you can see, we're getting this number, 1,401, but then a long kind of thing at the end. And you may say, well, wouldn't this cause problems? Would this break something? And you're right to be concerned, because in some cases it can. But in our case, when we, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. When we use the value here in timeout, the set timeout just drops everything past the dot. Okay, so it just ignores it. It just basically takes that. And even if it did take this, it's just a smaller breakup of time. So fortunately, it's not an issue. Okay, so now, I mean, we have the mole appearing. That's great, but once I click it once, it never shows up again. And well, that's a bit of a problem for a game you can only play once. So what must we do? Well, we have to put the mole back in somehow. Once it's clicked and smacked, basically, we have to put it back in. Actually, you know what? I forgot about something. Before we make the mole appear, we have to deal with something simple, something simpler in a way, is that once the mole appears, you kind of never hides. So I'm going to always win this game because I'm going to wait for the mole to appear, and I'm always going to get more hits than misses. Hear me trying again. Start, right? Okay, I don't have to hurry. I can just click it whenever I want to. So what we need to do is we need to make the mole disappear after it appeared. So it pops from the ground, and then you have to quickly whack it, or it will basically go back down the ground. So how do we do that? Well, let's think. So remember, everything we do within internet, everything is an event, right? We add event listeners to the click. So when a person clicks, that is an event. When we set up a timer, that's an event. So we're saying in certain amount of time, do something. That's called an event. So if we want to hide them all after it showed up, we have to generate another event. And well, why don't we do a timeout? Basically, setting a timer. So once the mole shows up, let's hide it in, say, 1 second. And we can do that by setting a timeout. Now, where should we do this? Well, here is the function that gets called when the mole appears. So maybe when the mole appears, at that moment, we should then start a timer, right? Which is basically start a timer saying, okay, hide the mole in 1 second. So what we could do, we can go here and simply say set timeout. And we're going to have to create some kind of a new function. Maybe we'll say hide mole. And in how much time? Let's just say in 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, and semicolon at the end. And now let's build a function. Say function hide mole, open, close, open squirrely brackets, closing squirrely brackets. Now press enter, and it shows up like this. And now we have this function. So when the mole appears, so we do this, then we will hide it. We will hide it after exactly 1 second. Now, how do we hide it? Well, when we hit the mole, so this is the mole click, and if the mole was visible, we registered the hit, and then we hit the mole using these two lines. So why don't we take these 2 lines of code, right click, copy, and put them here. Okay, and now we will hide the mole when this timer here completes. So let's save, let's refresh, and let's see what happens. So when the mole shows up, there it is. After a second, it should disappear. Let's try it again. 1000. Yep, disappears after a second. 1000. Okay, cool. So if it disappears and I missed it, I didn't whack the mole, then it's too bad. Now, of course, we want it to appear again, but we'll deal with that in a moment. And again, I mean, but again, this disappearing thing, right? If disappearing is exactly after, 1 second, then again, it's not a very interesting game. The disappearing should be kind of random. Well, we know how to make things random. So why don't we take this line of code? I'm going to click here, copy, right here. And I'm going to go like this. And I say I would like the mole to disappear. What's the minimum time we want the mole to be there? How about 300 milliseconds? So it's 1/3 of a second. What's the most? I don't know. 1 second maybe? So at most, how about maybe 1.5 seconds? So 1200. So minimum 300 milliseconds. And maximum 1200 plus 300, which is 1500, which is 1.5 seconds. So again, I'm going to place this X here. I'm going to save, refresh, start, that was pretty quick. 1000 to 1000, okay, that was in a second and a half or so. 1000, okay, that was less than a second. So it works. So go ahead and do that now. Again, I'll take a... So you have to change the show mole function. You have to add this, oops, why is it not painting here? Okay. You have to add this random number. You have to add this set timeout. and you have to create this entire function. So go ahead and come back when you're finished. Okay, so we got this going. Now let's almost finish, but let's implement the mole coming back. So as you can see, once the mole comes and we click it or miss it, it never comes back again. Now that's not good. We want the mole to be coming back up, right? Now how do we do that? Well, first of all, how do we make the mole appear in the first place? When we click start, what happens? How does the mole get here? Okay, let's review this. So when this start gets clicked, this function gets called. And in this function, we basically set a timer, and then we calculate this random number, and we said, okay, when the random time comes, show them all, basically. Okay, and showing them all is done using this this function. Well, is there another time where we want to show them all? Well, we hide them all. When we hide them all, shouldn't we then set up another timer? Start a timer again? Well, let's do that. Once the mole disappears, why don't we start a timer to show it again? And we can actually get the code from here. Okay, copy, paste, and basically it looks kind of weird, but when we hide them all, we again start a timer to again show them all. Okay, and when the mole gets shown, we will again start another timer to hide them all. So it's like a cycle, you know? And let's save that and see how it works. Save, refresh, start. Okay, oh, there it is. So mole appears and, there we go. Okay, so now it seems to work. So go ahead and implement this, and again, I'm going to highlight. So if my memory serves me correctly, in the show mole function, so here in this function, you need to add, oh no, sorry, we did that already, my bad. In the hide mole, we have to add a randomly showing of the mole. So let's do that, and I will see you in the next video.